Hey everyone, my name is Rob Kiley. I'm one of the directors of Long Island Surge. Last night we had a parent meeting to go over the upcoming club season, and unfortunately, I didn't record properly off of the Zoom meeting, so I decided to make another one just for those who couldn't be here. And our plan is to post this on the website. So I'm going to go through our slide presentation real quick and hopefully address any questions that you might have this upcoming season. If there's anything I don't get to, feel free to drop us an email at lisurgevolleyball@gmail.com. So I'm going to share my screen here. And hopefully we are ready to go. Our presentation. All right, so this meeting is basically to discuss the upcoming club season for Long Island Surge. We have some information about drafts, some information about the upcoming season, our COVID regulations that we're following, what to kind of expect this season. So hopefully I'll be able to answer all your questions that you might have. All right, so first is our philosophy for Long Island Surge, why we are different from other clubs. Surge was born out of being the club that was accessible to families in our area. We know that club volleyball was happening. Critique that we were getting is that it was a little bit too much of a commitment, both time-wise and financial commitment. So Surge was born to be that club that values families' times and pockets, and we try to do our best in terms of that. We only stay local to Nassau County, which is very different than other clubs on Long Island. We don't do any extensive traveling, and I think that's what kind of makes us so alluring to families, especially those who are learning the game and those who maybe are looking just to continue their love of the game and not have that ultra competitive, that ultra commitment kind of feel to a club season. Our staff is made up of a very enthusiastic bunch. Myself and Chris Harkins are the co-directors. Both of us are Nassau County High School coaches. We basically recruit and hire former and current college players, people who are at the top of their game, to help educate our players in our clubs. We currently have 32 coaches on staff. 90% of them are returning from years past, and 90% are former and current college players. 100% of the coaches on our staff are top players and coaches from the Nassau County area. We don't have volunteer coaches. We have their professional paid staff, and those will be the coaches that will be in charge running each of our. We have tryouts coming up this year on September 27th and October 4th in Garden City. We have information on our website. We plan to run teams from age under 12 to 18. Basically, our philosophy with Surge is that everybody gets a bid. So if we have enough to run a team, we will run that team. The only reason you'd be turned away from Surge is if we didn't have enough to field a team in your age group. To be honest, that has only happened once in our 5-year history where we had that. The boys program is a little bit harder to get interest. Usually we'll combine age groups like a 14-15 or a 15-16 in order to run a team. The minimum that we would have on a team would be 8 players, and that would be with 1 coach. And that's coming up at the end of this month. If you'd like to register for tryouts, the cost is $75 before September 20th and $100 after September 20th. And the tryout fee includes both of the tryouts for a cert. One thing just to be mindful of, if you've played club volleyball in the past, the age definitions have changed. So now instead of September 1st, it's moved back 2 months to July 1st. That means that if you had a late summer birthday, you could be in a different age group this year. There is a question on the tryout registration if you're willing to play up. Basically what they did is they've cut every grade in half now. Half of the grade will be with an older team, half of the grade will be with the younger team. So we do ask that you select your appropriate age group, not the one you want to play for. Select your appropriate age group on the tryout registration. Here is the age definition chart. So what you would do here is you'd find your birth month. So let's say you were born in December of 2004, and you'd find December 2004, and that would put you in the 16 and under group. There are some fine print things that only apply to the men's program or the female program. So if you take a look at the bottom, it's kind of self-explanatory with that. Once you figured out your age, you're able to register for tryouts. Make sure you're selecting the right age group. Once tryouts are over, we send out bids to players for teams. So we don't send everybody out at the same time. Usually we'll start with the oldest and the top teams first and work our way down. So if you made a top team, usually you get the email pretty quick. Those bids are relying on fast responses. So either yes or no, yes, we will be playing, no, we will not be playing. And then we're going to go to the next name on the list if you turn us down. The quicker you get that back, the quicker we can get our bids to other players that are waiting to hear. We do ask that you keep the bid information private. I know people want to know who's on their team and who got a bid, but it may be that you don't get the same bid as one of your friends, and that put everybody in a very uncomfortable situation. So if you could, just respond quickly to those bids. Just a little bit about this year that's coming up. So obviously we're in a weird state with the pandemic and COVID-19. The New York State High School Governance, the association in charge of the rules, has moved all high school volleyball, both men's and women's, to the spring, to March 1st. So that means that there's no volleyball at the high schools in Nassau County until March 1st, the public schools. So that being said, we're left with a couple of options because now there would be a very significant overlap between high school volleyball and club volleyball, and we didn't want to put that extra pressure on our players. So what we did is we decided to move our Long Island Surge club season back 1 month. So we're going to start early this year since there's no after-school sports currently. We're going to start on October 19th of this year. Let me see if I have that coming up. Nope, not yet. So we're going to start on October 19th, and we're going to end around the first week of March. This way, we're not going to interfere with the high school volleyball season. Another thing that's happening with New York State, and this is all of New York State, not just the public high schools, Governor Cuomo has announced that volleyball is considered high risk, and therefore there could be no competitive play. There's no beach leagues, there's no summer leagues. You're not allowed to have competitive volleyball. What they don't want is players from different areas of the county or the state interacting and coming together and potentially spreading the virus. So right now, volleyball games are currently prohibited. We don't know when that's going to be lifted. The tentative date right now is the end of this calendar year. Again, that could change. If volleyball is not taken off of the prohibited list, we may have an entire season where we don't see games. Because of that, we're going to modify our payment schedule just very slightly. But we did want all families to know that there could be no tournament play this year. So here is our season schedule for all teams, October 19th to March 1st. As always, we are not going to practice over school breaks or school holidays. So if the schools are closed, we will be closed. We will schedule tournaments should we be allowed to do so. Once New York State gives us that okay, we're going to schedule those tournaments. The cost for the season is going to vary because of this, because it's going to be one cost if we have tournaments and one cost if we don't have tournaments. Just real quick, our COVID regulations, we have our full list posted on our website. Players do need to wear a mask to and from the court, entering the gym, exiting the gym. Coaches are in masks. We have to adhere to CDC and the Board of Health guidelines, and part of that is to sanitize our equipment in between use. Volleyballs get used, they get sprayed down before the next time they get used. All right, so here's kind of where we're going to be a little different this year. Our tuition is going to have two memberships involved. The first membership is going to be the team membership. Team membership is what's included on this slide. 2 practices a week, all right, professional coaching, a backpack, and a t-shirt. Those practices will start October 19th and the first week of March. We are going to go Mondays and Wednesdays at the LIU Pratt Center in Brookville. Right, those of you who've been with Surge before, that's our second location that we added last year. Unfortunately, Oceanside School District is not open for us this year. No school district on the island is allowing outside organizations. I just tell you, there is a scramble for clubs and any organization that has been using the school gyms to find gym space. and all that is left are these private places like LIU. And luckily, we got in before all this happened, and we're allowed to use it again this year. We're going to start our practices in the 5 o'clock hour, and we're going to end in the 9 o'clock hour. Younger teams will go earlier in the night. Older teams will go a little later. But it's going to be Monday and Wednesday nights are the practice days this year. Now, you got to put a little asterisk with that too, because should LIU close, should the situation change, should the pandemic get bad in Brookville, we may need to change locations. Another thing that could happen is Oceanside could open up to us, which I know would make a lot of our South Shore families very happy that we have something on the South Shore. We would love to get back there and will if we're allowed to. And tell you right now that there is no outside organizations in Oceanside until the end of this school year. This calendar year minimum. So as we get posted with that, we'll keep you posted. But for now, practices are going to be Monday and Wednesday at LIU in Brookville, New York. The second half of your tuition is going to cover a tournament package. That's uniforms for local tournaments. No overnights, no extensive travel. And the one thing we're going to put with this is that should the tournament not happen, meaning if we don't get the okay from New York State to play competitive volleyball, every player will be credited $400 back from that. All right. That would happen at the end of the season. What we're not going to do is charge that after the fact if it comes, because I think it just administratively would be a nightmare for us to have to do that, to have different pay schedules. So this is what we're going with, and you'll get the money back should there be no tournaments. The full cost for everything, assuming it's business as normal, is $1,500. That's going to be in 3 installments. Half of the tuition is due up front when you pay your deposit at the bid. And then there are 2 installments, one on December 1st, one on January 1st, to cover the full tuition. So it would be $750, $350, $1,500 would include $750 deposit, $375 on December 1st, $375 on January 1st. Again, if no tournaments happen, we're going to credit back $400 of that $1,500. We don't ask for any more money throughout the season. That tuition is the amount. There's no hidden tournament cost. There's no hidden apparel cost. You do apparel for sale, but it's not something you have to participate in. This is it. That is the money up front, and there's no hiddens, no gotcha moments that you owe more money later on in the season. One thing you do need to have in order to play is a GEVA membership. Now, that's not through us. That's through our parent organization, Garden Empire Volleyball. That is a membership that includes your insurance to play, as well as your participation in any event like a tournament. Now, what GEVA did this year, since tournaments are not allowed, is they have a 2 membership breakdown. They have a $30 membership, which is just to play, and then that can be upgraded to a $65 membership should tournaments happen. So what we're going to ask people to do is to get the GEVA membership for the $30, and should tournaments come back, we're going to ask you to upgrade to the full membership so I can add players to the tournament roster. The instructions for this are a little different. It's now through Sports Engine, not through USAV Volleyball. I will have the instructions for that when we send out bids. All right, so some frequently asked questions. St. Paul's is where the tryouts are being held, but the practices are at LIU. We do not foresee practices on any large scale being happening in Garden City. Garden City, St. Paul's only gave us 1 night potentially. And to be honest, they're not technically even open for outside organizations yet. We are the only club, the only sport that's allowed to use their facility right now. So we don't even have the okay to go forward after tryouts there. So right now, the only place we know for sure we have is LIU Post in Brookville, and that's where the practices are going to be. Practices are Monday and Wednesday for the time being, but we just want to add this caveat in there that should things change, should there suddenly be a change in the pandemic or at LIU, we may need to change practice days and times. The Oceanside School District open up, we do plan on moving practices there, but we do not expect that to happen this calendar year. There is a spot on the tryout registration for friend requests. We know people want to play with their friends. We do our best to honor it. Just one thing to let you know is that we're not going to move players up to play with friends. So if Cindy and Brenda want to play together, but Cindy is ranked a little bit lower, Brenda really wants to play with her, Brenda's going to have to come down to the lower team to play. Another thing just to say is that I know that the age breakdown breaks a lot of players into new age groups. You can request to play on a higher age group. That's on the tryout registration. You do still have to try out with your age group. Do want to make that clear. We are not planning any overnight tournaments for this year. We're starting a month earlier and ending a month earlier because of the high school sports calendar change. The bids will go out after our last tryout. The quicker you respond to the bid, the quicker we can get the next teams out. Girls, jerseys are long sleeves, sleeveless for boys. We do have a night where you can try it on and see which size fits. We pick the tournament days. That's going to be anywhere between probably, if they happen, if we get the okay at the end of the year, they probably wouldn't start till February and would end in March. And those would be on weekend days. You have to try out for your age group, but you can request to play up. Try out. That's our email address, lisurgevolleyball@gmail.com. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us. I get back to you pretty quick, and we will see you on the court. All right. Please hit our tryout link if you'd like to register. And again, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.